Alright, and welcome back to another Let's Talk About Movies We Own. And we are still on the comedy section. So now I believe we're in the middle of the B's now. So we're going to talk for about 30 minutes. And again, if you're new to this series, it's me, Stitch993, my wife.
Hi.
As we talk about the over 1,200 movies that we physically own, media, mostly DVDs and Blu-rays. And so we're doing these by genre and then also by alphabetically as well. So we've gone over so far action adventure, animated, and now we're on to comedy, and this is part 2. So the first movie we're going to talk about is Bridesmaids. I'm going to go first. I was not a fan of this film. To be fair, I'm not a fan of this director's films at all. I don't like his comedy style, and whoever he gets as the writers, I'm never a big fan of the writers as well. And what are your thoughts?
So I actually love this movie. It is the type of comedy I like. I also just love Melissa McCarthy. I've been a fan of her since Gilmore Girls. For me, it is kind of reminiscent of how women actually are as friends. There's a lot of point in times where we just don't talk to each other because of some imagined argument. But then we come right back to each other. We're not like how a lot of dudes can be, where they just fight it out, get it over with, and they're ready to go. It takes us a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to see that in a movie where it wasn't over a guy, like it usually is, was kind of fun.
Which is weird. So we got 2 Bride movies, and I actually liked this one. So I enjoy Bride Wars. I think this is more of my comedy style. Here, that and the cast is just funny in general. So I don't think I've ever seen this one with you. I know this is technically a movie that you bought, so obviously you like it, I'm assuming.
Yes. One, I am a huge Anne Hathaway fan and a huge Kate Hudson fan.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy this movie. I also enjoy Kate Hudson's brother in the movie because I knew him from One Tree Hill. The movie itself is fun. I did enjoy a lot of the like catty quips back and forth between them. It's another showcase of, when girls fight, we fight.
Mm-hmm.
And Anne Hathaway just gets brutal in this movie. It's so much fun. And I do like the kind of question they pose at the end of it is, does your soulmate have to be your spouse? Can it not just be your best friend?
All right. So we have... so there's multiple Bring It On movies. We own 1 and 3, which you have said is the only good ones?
In my opinion.
Okay.
So I really enjoy 1.
I think everybody really enjoys
3 is a guilty pleasure. I know there's moments in 3 that do not hold up.
Mm-mm.
Especially that crumping scene. But I really enjoy 3. Hayden Panettiere is hilarious in it. Solange Knowles was a lot of fun in it. Now the first Bring It On is the classic. It's what spawned everything.
Right. It spawned a lot of cheerleading movies.
It really did.
That's why if you go back now, you'd be like, well, this seems a bit tropey. It's one of those films where they kind of set the standard for those tropes. The cheer squad, the new person that's just so much better than everybody else and stuff, and the cat fights, and the final scene being at some sort of tournament of some sort, and everybody making up for it by the end. The versus school, and going back, I really enjoyed both 1 and 3, and I agree there's parts from 3 that don't age that well, but the nice little time capsule of a movie in general. It's
1 still holds up.
1 still holds up, and honestly, it's probably for roles where she's like the main character, one of my favorite Kirsten Dunst films.
Same.
Yeah. And then Yeah, and it's also got I forget her name, but she's in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's just so weird seeing her in this. It's just like, wait.
Oh, her little cheer that she does at her audition is hilarious.
It is. It is. I mean, that actress in general is.
She's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And then you've got, what's her name?
Gabrielle Union.
Yeah, she's great in this. And again, just in the supporting cast as well is fun. But yeah, it's but I don't even remember 2.
2 was really boring. 4 holds up even less than 3, but it's still fun. But it holds up even less than 3.
Aren't there 5 or 6 of them?
Yeah,
now?
I stopped after 4.
I think I stopped after 4 as well.
And then we get the stage show, which is fun.
But to be fair, we only own 1 and 3, so we're really only going to talk about 1 and 3. All right. So next is Clue, which is like a classic film. It is Clue, aka Clue the movie, and it is based off of the classic Hasbro, Milton Bradley, one of those two, Parker Brothers, one of them, board game, and it has all the characters from the board game, including Mr. Body, and it's got freaking Tim Curry of all people as the butler.
Yes.
And it's like perfect casting. It's like got every single big comedic actor and actress for that time in this film. You got Madeline Kahn, you got freaking Doc Brown, among so many others, and it is that classic whodunit murder mystery. And yeah, I'm sure you know that in theaters they made 3 endings, so depending on the theaters, depending on the ending you would see, but when it got released on DVD and VHS and everything, they just added all 3 of them. So it is fun, and you can always, choose which ending you prefer. Honestly, I do like how it ended. It's pretty funny, and yeah, it just classic lines and scenarios just in general. Your thoughts?
So I didn't grow up with this movie. I honestly didn't see it till we started dating. But it is my second favorite live-action Tim Curry moment.
I agree. Yeah.
Following Rocky Horror.
I was going to say Home Alone 2, but sure.
Just 2 totally different personalities here. But yeah, I love him in this movie. I remember when I watched it with you, I got a little weirded out at first because I couldn't place one of the actors. And then we watched the Sabrina show from the 90s. And it's the principal.
It's the principal, yep.
So he's kind of doing a similar character there,
yes.
Neurotic. So it's a lot of fun. I loved watching it. Madeline Kahn is a joy, as always. You can tell me she's in a movie, and I'll literally sit down and watch it. I don't care what it is. If it's Madeline Kahn's in it, I'm watching it.
And then we go from Clue to Clueless. And I'll let you start this one, because this is your childhood favorite for you.
All right, so I absolutely adore Clueless. I love everything about this movie. I don't care what anybody says when they try to poke holes in it. It is one of my favorite movies.
It's got Paul Rudd.
It has Paul Rudd.
It's got Ant-Man.
So this was the first thing I ever saw Paul Rudd in. I was little when I first saw this movie. Which, to be fair, my mom probably shouldn't have been showing me teen rom-coms at 4.
I don't know. It's pretty tame compared to some of them that came out around the same time.
It is. But it's just... It started my trend of, watching stuff that's actually a little older than what I should have been watching. Mm-hmm. Because I got really into rom-coms at a really early age. So, I'd go and watch a Disney movie, but right after that, hey, let's watch Clueless. Hey, let's watch 10 Things I Hate About You. I really just love this movie. It has one of the best uses of a pop song. It's got, when Cher's having her moment when she's, walking through the shopping mall because she's trying to figure out why she's so weirded out about Ty being into Josh, and they're playing I think it's All by Myself by Celine Dion. in the background, and then right as you get to the big moment in the song, like the lighting changes, and she's like, I love Josh. And then she stops being able to behave normally around him, and I remember being that age that she is in the movie, and yeah, that's what happens when you finally realize that you're into somebody. You went, and now I don't know how to behave.
So just like Clue with you, Clueless I didn't see until we were dating, and I was aware of it. I've known the posters, the costumes, are especially the main character's costume, Batgirl's costume, is very, very iconic. It still is. I mean, you look at Iggy Azalea. But I was, again, it was a teen rom-com, not really my genre. But man, did I really get into this film. It probably helped that it had people like Paul Rudd and, I forget his name, but the guy from Scrubs in it as well. On top of...
I want a really young Brittany Murphy.
Really young Brittany Murphy. I don't know if this was her first film or one of her... close to her first film, but she was
a baby.
She was a baby in this. And then on top you've got, as I said, I don't know the actress's name, but I just know her as Batgirl from Joel Schumacher Batman movies. I don't know what that says about me, but anyways, but it's a fun film. Definitely would recommend checking that out if you're into that genre, or even if you're not and you just want to see Paul Rudd, very young Paul Rudd, you'll enjoy this.
So the next one's Confessions of a Shopaholic. I don't know if you've watched this.
I've never seen this film, so I have no thoughts on this.
So the basic story of it is a girl who is a shopaholic has gotten herself in so much debt. She's like being hounded by creditors, and she takes a job at a finance magazine writing a hope column. And it's the whole thing is like she doesn't really know how to control her own finances, but she's giving other people financial advice.
I mean, that makes sense. That's kind of how a lot of people do it. It's like, well, here's how you can learn from all my mistakes.
But she's not saying she's making mistakes. She's writing it as if she's somebody who knows what she's doing and is financially sound. And the guy who's running the paper technically is a Nepo baby, but he knows his stuff. Like, he's not just getting there based off his name. In fact, he doesn't even really want people to know he's related to the people he's related to. So he doesn't have any of the big expensive, like he doesn't walk around in the big expensive suits. He doesn't walk around flashing his money everywhere. And then you get this moment later on where he goes into a store with her because she thinks she needs to dress him for an event. And he goes in and he's like, he knows exactly what to get, knows what all to do. And all of a sudden she goes from, I can't really stand this guy, to being super into him. And to be fair, it's Hugh Dancy. He's charming in whatever he's in. And it's Isla Fisher. Even when she's playing a character that's not really all that sympathetic, she's too adorable to not feel sympathetic towards.
I'll say a quick summary for this next film. So I only in the past 5 or so years I was introduced to this film. I was not a fan. To be fair, I'm not a fan of Meryl Streep's acting in general. There's only one film that I enjoy from her, and it's not this one. I feel like the comedy is really weird. Like it's played for laughs, but it's like a dark comedy that doesn't know it's a dark comedy. Like it thinks it's just a silly movie, but it's I don't know. I did not enjoy it, but I know this was more of a film you enjoyed.
It is more of a me film. Death Becomes Her is more of a me and my mom film. So she grew up showing me a few Goldie Hawn movies, and I had fun with them, like this and Overboard, and the one where she's in the army. I forgot the name of it. But yeah, so Death Becomes Her is probably my favorite out of those, just because it is sillier to me. It's fun. I like all the the weird little body horror things they do. You got
Maybe
kind of
that's why I can't.
Yeah,
Get
you
into
can't
it.
get into
I don't
it.
like body horror.
You really don't. I do if it's done for laughs.
Okay, I do if it's like horror. And we'll get to in October. We'll do our Halloween movies, and I'll explain exactly what I mean. But going back to this film, and I'm not that type of. I don't like body horror for comedy sake.
And see, if it's done right, I do. And I do enjoy how they do it in this movie. For me, it's a lot of fun. The whole love triangle thing, and the women are just completely insane. It was fun for me.
Right. And then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Death
Oh
to
my God.
Smoochie is the comedy film for me. It's got Robin Williams and Dane. Well, it's produced and directed by Danny DeVito. This is by his production company, but it's starring Robin Williams and
Is it Norton?
Edward Norton as two. Robin Williams is the insert Barney. I guess nowadays it'd make more sense because he's kind of like the '90s version of Mr. Blippi. But back in the '90s, that wasn't kind of the thing yet. We were still kind of, big costume animals. What happens is Robin Williams gets off the rails and his ratings are low, and he goes and gets in the papers and does a bunch of crazy things. So they get him fired and they replace him with Edward Norton, who is he plays like a Rhino type of Barney type of character, and then it's just kind of a whole comedy about Robin Williams trying to get his job back. He hires the mafia, but then the mafia falls in love with him, and Edward Norton plays like the sweetest dude ever. Is just kind of almost aloof to the fact that Robin Williams' character even hates him until the very end. But it ends up just being just a fun ordeal all around. And then again, I knew you going into it. I thought you might like it just because the cast, but you were not a fan of it.
Okay, one, I'm not a fan of Edward Norton in general.
Fair enough.
And two, Robin Williams, it's going to be an unpopular opinion. He's hit or miss for me. A lot of the stuff a lot of people like for him, I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of Aladdin. I hate Mrs. Doubtfire. I did not like this movie. This was a ride. I only want to ride once. I don't ever want to watch this thing again. It was way too much. Way too much of everything. Just no. I don't want to do it.
All right. So Dora and the Lost City of Gold, I'm only going to touch on just a little bit because I do plan on reviewing this movie, doing a full-on review of this movie. I don't want to give all my thoughts on this one and go over it. But I will say this. If you grew up with Dora, or if you didn't, this is a great comedy film. If you remember the 90s Brady Bunch films, were more so riffing on Brady Bunch than actually being a Brady Bunch film, you will love this film. It's great. They did have to age up Dora and Diego to teen selves just for the plot to be a bit more funny. But wow, it really just kind of, I went in with low expectations, and in the first minute was blown away by the comedy writing, and this is a classic in the making, and just people of my generation talk about the Brady Bunch films and how great and funny they are, I feel the next generation, Gen Z or whatever, they're going to talk about Dora and Lost City Gold the same way. I saw it first on my own, and then I was like, you gotta watch this film. So then literally the next day we sat down and watched it together. So what are your thoughts?
So I remember exactly when you watched this because I was getting irritated with you. So it was Grey's night. I'm in the living room watching Grey's. It's a pretty big episode of Grey's.
Grey's Anatomy, by the way.
True. I believe it was the episode where Alex leaves Joe, because I was I was mad. I was big mad. And you were just laughing so loud I could hear you in the living room. It's not a big space, by the way, but he was laughing so loud I could hear him with the door closed over my show as if he was sitting right next to me.
Is that
And he's only done that to me twice. The other one was Mitchell's and the Machines. The difference between Mitchell's and the Machines and Dora is I ended up liking Dora.
So what are your thoughts on Dora?
I love Dora. I didn't expect to. I had absolutely zero interest in it. The trailer came out and I was like, I'm good. I don't want to watch it. Then you're laughing your butt off in the bedroom while I'm trying to watch one of the most infuriating episodes of my show to date. And I'm just getting mad all over. And then you're like, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. So you sit me down on the Friday. We're watching Dora. And I'm just already irritated going into this movie because I did not want to watch it. And within the first 10 minutes of it, I am laughing my butt off. Specifically when she turns to the camera and breaks the fourth wall.
Like she
at
does
the
in
dinner
cartoon.
table. At the dinner table. And her dad's just like, wait.
She'll grow out of it.
So yeah, it was so much fun. The story holds up.
It is a Dora exploration story, straight down with Boots,
Yeah.
the monkey, and as I said, Diego from the spin-off show Go Diego Go.
But he's even in her show too.
He is. He was introduced as her cousin. So he is also still her cousin in this show. He's just been, as I said, I won't get into it. I'll explain everything later. But both of them are teenagers in this, and they add in some additional, not from this show as far as I'm aware, they're just new characters, additional teenagers to kind of contrast and bounce off them comedy style.
To round it out.
Yes. The next one, I'll let you start off with, because this was a movie you knew first, and then you introduced to me.
So, the next movie is The Duff. I had a lot of fun with this. It is kind of that, like, classic teenage girl comedy. It definitely hit a little hard for me while watching it, which I think is weird to say about a teen comedy. But it's because the Duff literally stands for Designated Ugly Fat Friend. And, hi, that was me. So watching this movie and watching how her friends treat her, looking back, I'm just like, yeah, that happened a lot. I think I had maybe like one, maybe two friends that didn't treat me how she was treated in high school. So watching this movie, I was just seeing my entire high school experience in this, except for the getting the guy in the end moment.
So I do remember watching this. I just remember nothing about this film outside of one scene in a mall, because I'm like, wait, that's our mall. Well, not the mall close to us, but the mall we frequent here in Georgia a lot.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because it's the Sandy Springs Mall. I don't even think the store's around anymore. It got taken out like back in 2018 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do remember seeing this. I'm like, wait, I've been in that store once. That's a clothing store right next to, like, near the Starbucks area.
Yep.
So that's all I remember is just that scene there. I remember it being a good film. I just don't remember anything about the film.
See, that's part of the fun about living in Georgia, is half the movies that come out where it's like, oh, I've been there. And that started like all the way back with Zombieland.
All right. So Evolution. So I believe this is by the same writers, maybe the same director. But I remember it's from the creators of Ghostbusters, and I went into that thinking, oh, it's going to be Ghostbusters with aliens. No, it's kind of more of its own thing. It does have aliens in there. It does have the comedy-ish style of Ghostbusters, but like early 2000s comedy style. A good bit of it holds up. There are some CGI creatures that don't really stand the test of time, which is weird because half of the creatures are done in practical effects, and those look great, but then others are like full-on CGI, and this is like 2001, early 2000s. CGI, and it does not look. It looks rough. But it is still a really funny movie. We still quote it to this day.
Yeah.
I watched this as a teenager and fell in love with it just because I was literally the right age for this film when I watched it. I was like 15, 16, so it's the 15, 16-year-old humor. Yeah, I mean, you can enjoy it as an adult too, but like that is like the perfect age to check this film out is at 15, 16. When did you see it?
Like right when it came out.
Yeah.
So we watched it, again, probably earlier than we should have, and we quote it all the time, especially the mall scene. I think we can establish that doesn't work. And the ice cream scene.
We won't quote that.
We
here.
won't
You
quote
can
that
look
one.
up.
It's hilarious, though.
It is.
So yeah, I love that movie. It's so funny. It's just, all the characters are completely endearing and at the same time just up to pretty much no good.
Yeah.
The whole time. So you're rooting for everybody and you love everybody, but at the same time you're just like, you're kind of trash people.
All right. So Easy A, you were the first one of us to see it. So what were your thoughts when you saw it, and still what are your thoughts now?
I love this movie, but then again, it's Emma Stone, one of the Mashaka sisters, and Penn Badgley. I was gonna love it. It was made for me. Just, it's the only thing surrounding, like, inspired by kind of like the Scarlet Letter that I actually enjoyed, because I hate that book. I hate that book with a passion. I had to read it freshman year of high school. I do not recommend. But that movie is hilarious. I love every second of it. Lisa Kudrow is fun in it. It's got one of the dudes from Twilight in it. Which he's got a better movie later on that we own. It's not Twilight. I don't like those. But Easy A was so much fun. It's one of Amanda Bynes' movies that's really fun. Mm-hmm. This is a movie that made me a fan of Emma Stone.
I think this is the movie that made everybody a fan of Emma Stone.
Just, I love every second of this movie. There's not a single moment in it that I don't like. Oh, Stanley Tucci is in this movie.
Yes.
And
as the dad.
I think I love him more in this movie than I do in Devil Wears Prada. And you know how I feel about Devil Wears Prada. I love every second of this movie. And if you don't know the plot of it, it's basically a modern Scarlet Letter.
Basically, she's pretending to have sex with a bunch of people, but really she doesn't. And so she gets that's the reputation. The reputation, and hijinks ensue after that. So I got introduced to it through you. Actually, yes, I did really like this movie. I know I've seen the full film, but there's like scenes that just...
There's scenes that stick with you.
So I'm like, I just recall the scenes that like everybody recounts.
Like the Burn scene.
Yeah, so I can't remember the full plot and what happens in it for the most part, but I do remember the overall plot, and it's a very fun film. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it's okay. I didn't grow up with John Hughes movies. I'm not really a big fan of his films. This is probably the least problematic one, and yeah, it's fine. I know you're more the fan of his films.
So I do really enjoy John Hughes movies, and I grew up on them. My mom is a child of the 80s, so we watched a lot of John Hughes. But yeah, I do agree Ferris is probably the least problematic of all of them. I also agree with a lot of people that Cameron did not deserve any of the stuff that happens to him in this movie. Like, he's too good of a person for Ferris. The whole plot of it, it's just a kid wants to play hooky from school and gets his girlfriend and his best friend to play hooky with him. And hijinks ensue, and they total the friend's dad's car.
Yeah.
And the principal is, like, hunting him down because he's had too many days that he's taken off.
What's interesting is, like, I'm sure it's funny, but I don't ever remember laughing in the film. Like, I'm sure it's, like, that's comedy, but it's not my style, so I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
that happened. First Wives Club, I'm not again, there's like, two or three one actress in this film that just kind of brings it down for me, so I just don't care for it. I like what it's supposed to be, and the plot's fine. I feel like if they remade it today, it would have been a little bit better, just because, I don't know, some stuff in the film probably has not aged well, either comedy wise or just story wise in general. So I feel like an update for this one wouldn't be that bad. But it's okay. I know this is more of a you film.
This is more of a me film. The one actress that brings it down for you, you don't like Diane Keaton.
I don't.
Which is sad because she's great. But she's also the one you're paying attention to almost the least. Honestly, the one you're paying attention to the least is Bette Midler, which is a crime because Bette Midler is fantastic. This is one of those movies, though, that I think probably should be not only just remade in general, but is one that could withstand multiple remakes and just updating it with each other generation or so, because it'll keep the moments in the story fresh, but it is a story that's just kind of timeless in itself.
Yeah.
The movie starts off really sad. It starts off
course.
with the death, and then you have these three friends from college who are going to the funeral for their friend who has passed. They've all lost touch because, they graduated, they got married, they grew into different people, and you see just how different they became after they graduated and how different they are now. Goldie Hawn is hilarious in it, and you start off thinking she's the dumb one of the group, when really she's the one that pops off the best ideas. Like the selling the home that you and your husband shared for $1 because you have to split the profits, and only giving him 50 cents. Genius. Fantastic. She is the queen of petty, and I'm here for it. Bette Midler in it she's playing that overbearing mom type character, which you don't see that often with Bette Midler, but she does it so well. And then Diane Keaton is the meek one, the one who doesn't really want to participate fully, and her friends are egging her on, and then once she decides to go off and fully commit to the bit, she's brutal. And, Maggie Smith is in there as, like, the ultimate first wife, and it's fantastic, and I love Maggie Smith so much.
Honestly forgot she was in the film.
She's another actress. She's in it. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna sit down and watch it. I love Maggie Smith.
Alrighty. Grand Budapest Hotel. Man, this is a great film. This is probably it's in at least my top 3 Wes Anderson films. It's probably one of the most Wes Anderson films. And it's great. It's got Ralph Fiennes in it. It's great. This is the first film that we're introduced to. I don't remember the actor's name. I'm so sorry. But eventually he would play in the Spider-Man films.
Yes! He's Flash in the Spider-Man films.
He's Flash in the Spider-Man films. Also, it's got a really young
Saoirse
Ronan in there before she blew up as well. It's got a lot of actors where it's just like, it's either they're at the height of their popularity, or like they're just starting out and they're like meeting in the middle with this film.
To be fair, this was not her just starting out. She had already done Atonement and The Lovely Bones before she even touched this movie.
Fair enough. But
so
this
she
was the first
already
film. This is I never saw either one of those films and I've still never seen Lovely Bones. So this was the first film.
Lovely Bones is brutal. You don't need to. It's rough. It's good, but it's rough.
So this was the first introduction to me for her from that, as well as the first introduction really of Ralph Fiennes, where he wasn't, voicing a character or playing Voldemort. So it was just kind of interesting seeing his actual face with a nose. And so the story is just about a Grand Budapest Hotel during, I think, World War II, and about the Flash's character being the new bellboy, and it's like it's a story within a story within a story. So it's like it's the story is being told from the bellboy when he was an old man being interviewed by another, and then that's based off the interviews then from a book, and then that book was like translator or something. That is, the intro is really weird, but I'm probably messed it up. But it is it's being told by like two or three. It's like being translated by two or three people there. But the main story is it's bellboy wanting to work at the Grand Budapest Hotel, working under Ralph Fiennes' character. Ralph Fiennes being he's not the owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel. He's just one of the
manager.
He's just the manager there, and he's like the best manager ever. So when stuff goes down, everybody looks to him. He gets basically framed and gets thrown in jail, and so it's up to the bellboy to, go and rescue him. And it's just a great, wonderful film. Your thoughts?
I do remember enjoying this movie. I don't remember anything actually about it, but I do remember enjoying this movie. And it's one of only two Wes Anderson movies that I like. It's like this and Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's it. Which I know is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but it's just a lot of his other stuff's kind of creepy, okay? the vibe is kind of creepy in a lot of his other stuff, whereas this one, everyone's charming enough that I can forgive it. It just gives off weird vibes.
The Great Race. This is just a me film. I think I've introduced this to you. You were not a fan.
You've shown it to me once when I was tired. I think I fell asleep. I don't remember anything about it.
So this is about it's set place in I believe the 1800s, or early 1900s, and it is just trying to do a race around the world kind of thing there. It's I think the Hanna-Barbera show Wacky Races was inspired by this, because all three of the main characters resemble characters. The female reminds me of Penelope. Main bad guy is very much a dastardly Muttley type of character, and then the main character could be any of the other main characters in that show. But yeah, it's just if you around the same time as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Around the World in 80 Days, turn of the century kind of thing, comedy. It's great. It's just them going from one scene to another, just going from one city or country to another, racing around, or it's not around the world, but from one side of the I think the United Kingdom to the other, and just all the wonderful things that they get into, either accidentally or trying to thwart the other guy from winning. It's a great fun film. All right, the last film of this episode is Hairspray, not the musical, the original John Waters, just straight comedy film. I believe this is one of only two John Waters directed films I've seen. The other being Crybaby.
Oh man, I love both of them. Surprisingly, we don't have Crybaby.
And so I enjoyed it. I could see the bones that would eventually become the musical. They pulled a lot. If you've seen the musical or the movie based on the musical, the plot is pretty much the same, albeit one or two things changed. It's the least gross out humor of John Waters films. So if you're turned off by all his other types of films, then watch Hairspray, because you'll actually probably enjoy it. Yes, this was a you film, though.
This is a me film. So I saw the musical first. Then I found out that there's the John Waters movie. And I ended up loving every second of this. First of all, Ricky Lake is hilarious in this movie. it sold me on her. I love this movie. You can definitely. I do think the parents' relationship in the straight movie is more entertaining than it is in the musical.
It really is.
In the musical, it's weird.
It's always played for the musical. It's always like played for laughs and stuff. Whereas in
there's actual heart between the parents and the straight one, which I wish they would do more in stage productions, and I wish they would have done it in the musical movie, is show the actual care that's there, because it really was just, hey, look, it's John Travolta in a fat suit dressed as a woman.
Yeah.
Not actually really going into Edna as a character. Which I love Edna in the original one.
Right.
It's she's more of a mom. She's more solid. She's less caring. She's at that point in her life where she doesn't really care what anybody thinks. She is what she is, and she's not gonna stand for anybody going after her kid, which they took that away for the musical, and I hate that, because man, you don't get enough moms that don't look perfect in movies that have that kind of confidence.
Right.
Like if they have that kind of confidence, they have to look like Heidi Klum.
Yeah.
So to have that in an older movie, which having that type of character was pretty much unheard of.
This was the 80s.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So to have someone who is bigger have that kind of self-confidence in themselves and trying to instill it into their child was refreshing to see, especially at the age I saw it, because I saw this movie at like 15, 16 years old. And when I tell you the insecurities in me ran so deep that even though it's a comedy, some of the scenes between Edna and Tracy had me in tears. So like
it's a really heartfelt movie.
It's so good. It's so heartfelt.
And a lot of it is lost in the musical, for the most part.
I will say, so the heartfelt moments in the musical aren't heartfelt in the straight movie.
Yeah.
And the super heartfelt moments in the straight movie aren't heartfelt in the musical. And I just wish they would find a way to meld the two better. So, and you don't even have to change any of the musical numbers. You can keep the musical numbers the exact same and just change the blocking.
Yeah.
And the stage direction. And it would change the whole scene. So just find a better way to meld the two.
But going back to the original, it's not a musical, by the way.
It's not.
If you don't like musicals, just check out the original, because it's just a straight comedy film. And yeah, that's going to be it. Tune in next month. We'll I believe we've still got about 2 more episodes worth of comedy films to go over, and let me know down in comments what are your thoughts on all the movies that we've talked about, or if there's any movies that you'd like to recommend that we add to our collection, you definitely do so as well. And until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.